In this video, we will work together on noun clauses. We will look at three different kinds of noun clauses which can function as the subject of a sentence or as the object of a sentence. Okay, let's start with this question. What is a noun clause? A noun clause is a dependent clause which functions as a noun or a noun phrase. It is used in the same ways as a single word noun, and it can be the subject or the object of the sentence. Let's have a look at some examples. Jane and Jack want to start a company. In this sentence, a company is a noun. Jane and Jack are trying to learn the names of the companies in the US. In this sentence, the names of the companies in the US is a noun phrase. Many people don't know why the principal decided to resign. In this sentence, why the principal decided to resign is a noun clause and it functions as the object of the sentence. The same is true in the next example. It is clear that people must work hard to be happy. In this sentence, that people must work hard to be happy is a noun clause and it functions as the object of the sentence. In the last example, however, we have a noun clause that functions as the subject of the sentence. Whether all the members of the club will join the meeting or not is still not certain. In this sentence, whether all the members of the club will join the meeting or not is a noun clause and it is the subject of the sentence. Now, let's have a closer look at the noun clauses that function as the object or the subject of the sentence. We will first start with the ones that function as the object of the sentence. There are three types of noun clauses that function as the object of a sentence. The first type is noun clauses beginning with that. For example, some people believe that hard work brings happiness. In this sentence, that hard work brings happiness is a noun clause starting with that. As you can see, it functions as the object of the sentence. The second type is noun clauses beginning with question words, and the example sentence we have is, no one can tell what the eventual effect of too much exposure to information will be. In this sentence, what the eventual effect of too much exposure to information will be is the noun clause starting with the question word what, and just like in the previous example, it functions as the object of the sentence. And the final type is noun clauses beginning with if or whether. For example, many people wonder whether or if sending text messages can lead to a lack of concentration. In this sentence, whether or if sending text messages can lead to a lack of concentration is a noun clause starting with whether or if, and it is the object of the sentence. Now, we will have a closer look at these three types of noun clauses. Let's start with the noun clauses beginning with that. Positive or negative statements can be turned into noun clauses by using that. In other words, when we have a statement or a sentence that is positive or negative, we can turn it into a that noun clause. For example, Germany has the highest percentage of childless women in the world. This is a positive statement. When we add that to the beginning of the statement, it becomes a noun clause. That Germany has the highest percentage of childless women in the world. And we can use this that noun clause as the object in the sentence. New figures have shown that Germany has the highest percentage of childless women in the world. Let's have a look at another example. The author acknowledges that he got the idea from another writer. In this sentence, that he got the idea from another writer is a noun clause beginning with that. Please note that you can omit that when it is used as the object of the verb in noun clauses. In other words, using that is not always necessary in noun clauses beginning with that and functioning as the object of the sentence. Now, let's have a look at some of the verbs that are followed by that clauses. These verbs are commonly used with noun clauses beginning with that. Agree, answer, believe, claim, conclude, know, realize, say, show, state, suggest, and think. Let's have a look at this example. Recent research shows that a presentation is more effective if visual aids are used. In this sentence, that a presentation is more effective if visual aids are used is a noun clause, and we have the noun clause after the verb show. You can use noun clauses after many verbs, but these are the verbs that are most commonly used before noun clauses. We can also use adjectives before noun clauses. Some of these adjectives are afraid, certain, essential, evident, happy, important, necessary, sure, and surprised. For example, I'm glad that you got the visa. In this sentence, that you got the visa is a noun clause, and we have the noun clause after the adjective glad. You can also use that noun clauses as noun complements. In other words, you can use them with certain nouns that are followed by the verb to be. Some examples of these nouns are problem, advantage, disadvantage, difficulty, rule, and reason. Using noun complements is very useful when you're writing a paragraph. If you need to write about a problem, an advantage, a disadvantage, a difficulty, a rule, or a reason, then it is very useful to use noun clauses. For example, one reason is that using credit cards may lead to overspending. One important rule to remember is that if the verb or adjective is followed by a preposition, the fact that is used instead of that, and it cannot be omitted. In other words, when we have a preposition after the verb or the adjective, we need to use the fact that instead of that, and it cannot be omitted. Let's have a look at the first example. The lecturer referred to the fact that population growth is the world's biggest problem. In the sentence, the verb is referred, which is followed by the preposition to. So, after a preposition, we normally use the fact that, and we cannot omit that in the sentence. In the following example, we have a noun clause after an adjective. Some parents are worried about the fact that their children cannot do anything without them. In this sentence, worried is an adjective which is followed by the preposition about. And as we have a preposition, we need to use the fact that, and we cannot omit that in the sentence. Alternatively, you can rewrite the sentence in the following way. Some parents are worried that their children cannot do anything without them. As you can see, there is no preposition after the adjective, and in that case, the noun clause begins with that. Let's practice combining some sentences using that clauses as the object. Please look at the grammar handout and do task 1 on page 2 of your handout. Stop the video and do the exercise. When you finish, compare your answers against the answer key provided. Then press play. So far, we've looked at noun clauses beginning with that and functioning as the object of the sentence. Now, we'll have a look at noun clauses that begin with question words such as where, how, what, etc., and function as the object of the sentence. Unlike that noun clauses, which are formed from statements, these noun clauses are formed from questions. In other words, they begin with a question word. Also, the word order in these clauses is like a statement, not like a question, except in subject questions. Let's have a look at this example. Why did you tell a lie is a question. Why you told a lie is a noun clause. Let's assume that we want someone to explain their reason for lying, so we tell them, you have to explain why you told a lie. In this sentence, why you told a lie is a noun clause, and because it's a noun clause, it no longer has the question form. It has the sentence word order. That is, it follows the order subject, verb, and object. The same is true in the following example. It is impossible to guess what the future will bring. In the sentence, what the future will bring is the noun clause and it has the sentence word order. One important point to keep in mind is that when we have a question about the subject, that is, when we ask a subject question, the word order doesn't change. It remains as it is. Here is an example. Who will do the cooking is a subject question. Do you know who will do the cooking is a question that includes a noun clause. As we have a subject question, we do not change the word order. That's all about noun clauses beginning with question words. Now it's time to put what you have learned into practice. Please look at the grammar handout and do task 2 on page 3 of your handout. Stop the video and do the exercise. When you finish, compare your answers against the answer key provided. Then press play. Now, let's have a look at noun clauses that start with if or whether. When we have yes or no questions, these can be turned into noun clauses by using if or whether. Here is an example. Will the Parliament pass the Social Security Bill? This is a yes or no question. Whether or if the Parliament will pass the Social Security Bill or not is a noun clause. We want to use this noun clause as part of a sentence. Here is our example. It is still not certain whether or not the Parliament will pass the Social Security Bill or not. Alternatively, we can also say it is still not certain if the Parliament will pass the Social Security Bill or not. As you can see, we cannot use or not immediately after if. In other words, when you use if at the beginning of a noun clause functioning as the object of a sentence, you need to use or not at the end of the noun clause. Another important rule to remember is that we can use only whether as object of preposition, not if. Let's have a look at this example. The general manager is very concerned about whether the firm can overcome its financial problems. In this sentence, about is a preposition and the noun clause follows this preposition. So we need to use whether at the beginning of the noun clause. Now it's time to do some practice. Please look at the grammar handout and do task 3 on page 4 of your handout. Stop the video and do the exercise. When you finish, compare your answers against the answer key provided. Then press play. In the first part of this video, we have worked on noun clauses that function as the object of the sentence. Now we will work on noun clauses that function as the subject of the sentence. There are 3 types of noun clauses as the subject. The first type is noun clauses beginning with that or the fact that. For example, that or the fact that the current system makes the rich richer and the poor poorer is one of the main arguments of the opponents. In the sentence, that or the fact that the current system makes the rich richer and the poor poorer is the noun clause beginning with that or the fact that, and it functions as the subject of the sentence. Let's have a look at the second type, noun clauses beginning with question words. Here is an example. What caused the country to suffer an economic crisis was obvious. In this sentence, what caused the country to suffer an economic crisis is a noun clause beginning with the question word what, and it functions as the subject of the sentence. The final type we have is the noun clauses beginning with whether. For example, whether the new employees are going to attend the meeting isn't certain yet. As you can see, in this sentence, whether the new employees are going to attend the meeting is the noun clause and it starts with whether. In addition to functioning as the subject of the sentence, there is another common point among these sentences. When you take a close look at the verb of these sentences, which are underlined for you, you can see that all the verbs are in the singular form. Therefore, as a rule, we can say that when we have a noun clause in the subject position, the verb of the sentence is always singular. Now, let's have a closer look at these three types of noun clauses, starting with the noun clauses beginning with that. The first type we will work on is the noun clauses beginning with that. Remember, positive or negative statements can be turned into noun clauses beginning with that or the fact that, and using them in subject position is actually quite formal. Also, that or the fact that cannot be omitted when the noun clause is the subject of the sentence. Let's have a look at this example sentence. The fact that or that everyone buys flowers and heart-shaped chocolates as Valentine's Day gifts is quite customary. In this sentence, the fact that or that everyone buys flowers and heart-shaped chocolates as Valentine's Day gifts is a noun clause that starts with that or the fact that. It functions as the subject of the sentence and it is followed by a singular verb. In this sentence, we cannot omit that or the fact that. We said that it is quite formal to use noun clauses beginning with that or the fact that in the subject position. Therefore, you can also rewrite this sentence in a different way, which is more common. It is quite customary that everyone buys flowers and heart-shaped chocolates as Valentine's Day gifts. Now, let's do some practice. Please look at the grammar handout and do task 4 on page 5 of your handout. Stop the video and do the exercise. When you finish, compare your answers against the answer key provided. Then press play. The second type of the noun clauses in subject questions is the noun clauses beginning with information questions. That is, noun clauses which begin with question words such as how, where, what, etc. Let's have a look at this example sentence. How he managed to be elected again, despite his obvious involvement in the scandal, surprised us. In this sentence, how he managed to be elected again, despite his obvious involvement in the scandal, is the noun clause. It starts with the question word how, and it functions as the subject of the sentence. Now, in your grammar handout, please do task 5 on page 5 of your handout. Stop the video and do the exercise. When you finish, compare your answers against the answer key provided. Then press play. The third type of the noun clauses in subject position is the noun clauses that begin with whether. These noun clauses are formed from yes or no questions. Let's have a look at this example. Whether or not the family will move to the city or not is still doubtful. In the sentence, whether or not the family will move to another city or not is a noun clause that starts with whether. It is in subject position in the sentence and it is followed by a singular verb. One important point that you need to keep in mind is that when you use a noun clause which is formed from a yes or no question as the subject of a sentence, you can only use whether, not if. In other words, in noun clauses that are formed from yes or no questions and function as the subject of the sentence, you can only use whether. Now, in your grammar handout, please do tasks 6, 7, and 8 on pages 6 and 7 of your handout. Stop the video and do the exercises. When you finish, compare your answers against the answer key provided. If you have any questions, please make a note of them and you can always ask your teachers for help.